Well, hello, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Michelle Nedwick, and I make healthy lifestyle videos that include some new recipes, some fashion content, some beauty content, a look into my life, and I'm also documenting my journey on a GLP-1 and Weight Watchers. And today, my trusty sidekick, Leo, is joining us. I think he missed last week, so. All right, well, today I do have another segment in my Weight Watchers motivation series. So if you've been following my channel, you know that I'm a breast cancer survivor, and this past week I had my exam, my annual exam at the Cleveland Clinic. And I was very, very nervous about this because last year at this time, I had my exam and they found something. The doctor who read my diagnostic mammogram basically said to me last year, well, it looks the same and it's in the same place. You need a biopsy. Now, that was very nerve-wracking in and of itself, but to make it worse, my daughter was getting married this past September. So I went to my various appointments. I had the biopsy, which is awful, by the way, and I got my results the Friday of my daughter's rehearsal dinner, and it was benign. And I really, really, really didn't think it was going to be. So I was very, very relieved. I actually cried when the lady called me. Now, fast forward this year. My own wedding is October 3rd, and I was so afraid that I was going to have to go through what I did last summer. Even if it ended up being benign again, it was terrible stress, and I'm already under terrible stress, dealing with work and trying to get everything just right for the wedding. So I had my exam on Wednesday, and thank God I'm good. Now, I did have a slight scare. They did find something, and instead of making me come back in a couple weeks for a diagnostic mammogram, they just scheduled it the same day and then scheduled an ultrasound. So I was nervous for about 3 hours while I waited for those exams, but I got to walk out knowing that I was good, and that was an immense relief. Now, something kind of strange happened, and I believe that there is something after we die, and I believe the presence of our loved ones look after us. That's just my own personal belief. So I was very nervous about this exam. And when we were driving in, I prayed to my mom in heaven and my stepdad, who was my dad. He's the one who raised me, Tommy, and I just lost him 3 years ago. Anyway, I was praying to them, that this would be okay. So when I was checking in at the hospital, there was one guy in front of me. Now, my beloved stepdad's name is Thomas Hutchison, with no N in the middle. So I'm standing behind this guy, and the person at the desk is asking him his name. They're like, what is your last name? And he's like, Hutchison. And I'm like, I immediately perked up and I'm like, well, that's the exact spelling of my stepdad's name. Maybe I should ask him, if they know each other, because that is not the common spelling. Then the guy asks him, and what is your first name? And he says, Thomas, Thomas. So the guy checking in front of me when I prayed to my stepdad, his name was Thomas Hutchison, just like my stepdad. Now, obviously, it could just be a mere coincidence, but I choose to believe that that was his way of telling me that he was with me and everything was going to be okay. All right, enough of the woo-woo. If you don't believe in that sort of thing, I'm sorry, but I had to share that because I thought it was so strange. So I did get the good reading, but my stress was not over yet. I had to argue a case in the Court of Appeals the next morning. And I have not done that for about 13 or 14 years. And it makes me very nervous because, you stand up at the podium and there are 3 judges, just kind of staring at you. And you can be interrupted at any time. They can ask you a question. So I was super nervous about this oral argument. And I went, I did okay. I don't think my nervousness showed, but our 9th District Court of Appeals in Ohio puts their oral arguments on YouTube. So if you guys want to check out the other side of me, the prosecutor side, I'm going to go ahead and link that video in my description box below. Now, it's boring as all get out, just a bunch of legalese. But, if you want to see me in action in my regular job, then go ahead and check that out. I come in, well, I'm sitting at a table, but my argument comes in at about 8.5 minutes. So anyway, if you want to see that, go ahead and watch it. So needless to say, I was under a great deal of stress this past week. Everything turned out okay. I don't know the results of my oral argument. They probably won't make a decision, at least for a couple months. But I got that done, and now I'm ready to focus on my wedding. But before I get into that, I did weigh in at Weight Watchers this week. Now, if you recall, last week I did a no weigh-in because I had a really fun bachelorette party at a French restaurant, and I had overindulged a little bit, and I just didn't want, the scale to go up and make me feel bad about celebrating my wedding. So I chose not to weigh in, so I didn't know what to expect this past week. And I was down 2 pounds from my last weigh-in 2 weeks before. So that was good because I had kind of been going up and down the same 2 pounds. So I'm finally now at my lowest point so far. I still have about 13, 14 pounds to lose before I reach my goal weight. As I've said in the past, I'm definitely a slow responder. And my wedding dress fits beautifully, except it's too long. I've got to go get that done. But I don't want to necessarily lose a ton more weight because I'm going to be getting that dress fitted soon. But I know that if I just stick with it, I will definitely reach my goal weight. Now, a little GLP-1 update. Now, I have been using Orderly Meds, and I have been very happy with them. And I find that their TIRZEPATIDE from Perfect RX is strong and does the job. But I found out from a friend, hey Denise, that you can get 3 months from Brello Health, that's BRELLO, for $4.99. That breaks it down to about $166 a month for TIRZEPATIDE. And you don't have a subscription fee. It is a subscription though. It will renew automatically every 10 weeks, but you can cancel or pause your subscription at any time. So I went ahead and signed up for that. I have not received it yet. They did let me know that because of the high demand, that delivery could be as much as 2 to 3 weeks. And I have plenty to last me. So when that does come in, I will definitely do an unboxing. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. Again, I still like Orderly Meds, and we'll see what happens, if the FDA ever starts to clamp down on these compounding pharmacies or telehealth companies, then, we'll see what happens. The Brello TIRZEPATIDE is mixed with B6, and I haven't had that combination before. So I think the B6 helps with nausea and helps with your metabolism and your energy level. So I'm looking forward to trying it and reporting back. I am currently on 12.5 milligrams, and I just hit my 1-year anniversary of being on TIRZEPATIDE. I'm down about 35 pounds-ish and feeling great and looking good for my wedding, which was definitely my goal. But anyway, I will definitely keep you posted. And I'm thinking about doing a 1-year retrospective, kind of talking about my experience on TIRZEPATIDE, what I think about it, the side effects I've had, the success or lack of that I had with it. So if you would think that would be a good thing for me to do, please let me know in the comments below. All right, well, it is time for my Weight Watcher motivation segment. So I've got my trusty iPad. The topic this past week was called Navigating Carbs. So I did go to my local meeting in person, and my leader, Michelle, she opened up by saying, how many have tried to give up carbs completely? Now, I have tried that. I've tried that on a number of occasions. I even did like a 3-day all egg diet. Anyway, I found, at least for me personally, I could not stick to a diet that didn't have any carbs in it. I don't know what your experience has been. I know people do keto very successfully, so I know it does work. It's just not something that I was ever able to stick with. And Michelle said, why is it important to talk about carbs? Well, because all carbs are not created equal, and we know this. So she started asking us to name some of our favorite carbs. And surprisingly, most people talked about healthy carbs. They talked about whole grain wheat. They talked about quinoa, brown rice, lentils, just to name a few. Corn, all fruits and vegetables, potatoes, beans, whole grain pasta. Now, the bad carbs, we already know. That would be our processed food, our white flour-based products like regular pasta, white processed bread. So we know, I bet if you're watching this video, that you have years of experience watching your diet, knowing what good carbs are and what bad carbs are. So anyway, Michelle then talked about how we turn to carbs when we are stressed. And that is true. You know, like taking, for example, my past week, I was under a lot of stress and I didn't eat badly, but the last thing I really wanted was, a bunch of steak. I did have some pasta. I did have some rice. And I tried to get a healthy amount of protein in that. I usually buy whole grain bread. I do buy whole grain pasta, but lately I've been buying the Barilla high protein pasta. So I'm not sure if that is whole grain or not. I'm tending to think maybe not. But anyway, it's true. We turn to carbs when we're under stress because eating carbs creates serotonin. And that's the feel-good hormone that makes you feel satiated and happy. Now, does it last very long? Not necessarily, and probably depends on the types of carbs that you are eating. But that is why, we are physically drawn to carbs when we are under stress. Then she talked about different forms of the apple. So she said, let me know which you would rank this from highest carb to lowest carb. An apple, applesauce, unsweetened applesauce, or apple juice. And surprisingly, the most carbs, I believe, was actually the whole apple. Then applesauce, then apple juice, which was very surprising, and then the lowest carb version was unsweetened applesauce. I think I got that right. I was really trying to take notes, so if I didn't get that right and you are a Weight Watcher and you know something different, let me know in the comments because I definitely could have messed up on that. But the surprising thing was that apple juice was not the thing that had the most carbs. But Michelle says, of all these, which makes you feel the most satisfied? And everybody said eating the whole apple. And I tend to agree because you can't just look at carbs alone. You have to look at the whole picture. And a whole apple has more fiber than all the others. So that is what helps make you feel fuller longer. it takes longer to digest, and so the benefit stays with you longer. And then Michelle asked us, what are our favorite carbs to eat and favorite recipes? And she gave, for her example, she makes a bean dip. She uses fat-free refried beans from Aldi, a can of that, and a jar of the Aldi salsa, and mixes it together. And then she'll portion it out. She's got these little glass bowls. I think they're like 1 cup each with lids. She's a teacher, so she'll pack that and she'll take it in her lunch and use celery to dip in it. And that would have 0 points on Weight Watchers. And you would still get some really good fiber and protein. So people then expanded on that. One person said she makes something similar, but also adds a slice of Velveeta cheese. Now, the sliced Velveeta cheese is only 1 point on Weight Watchers, and it is 3 points for 2 slices, but it melts down just like the block Velveeta cheese. And that person, heats up the refried beans, the salsa with the slice of Velveeta for a cheesier version of the bean dip. And you can also wrap that in a tortilla. The Extreme Wellness brand tortilla, I believe, has 11 or 12 grams of fiber, which actually I might consider doing because, again, I'm struggling with constipation. I know that's TMI. I keep trying to find the balance for me because if I take too many things, then I have the opposite effect. So that bean dip does sound good, either plain or in a tortilla or with some tortilla chips. So others talked about what can you do with oats. Now there's steel cut oats, old fashioned oats, I think quick cooking oats. I think the steel cut oats have the most fiber. I get the old fashioned oats. Now I'm not a big lover of oatmeal. I never have been. Unless maybe there's a ton of like brown sugar or something in it, which, kind of takes away all the health benefits. And then I still don't really like it that much. But people can make recipes with oats, and I actually have too. I don't remember all of the ingredients, but I know I've made like an apple oatmeal bake that I can cut into bars. That was one of the recipes when I was doing the fast metabolism diet. So, that would be a good one too. Another member said she makes muffins using the oats, some mushed bananas, and eggs, and makes them into muffins. So I'd have to probably Google for a good recipe for that. But apparently it's very easy and very good for you. Then people started about pasta. Now, generally, regular pasta, is not really known to be good for you. It is high in carbs and low in fiber. But there are so many pastas out there now that are much healthier. Now, like I said, I like the Barilla high protein pasta. I think it tastes just like regular pasta and gives you the added benefit of extra protein. But people brought up chickpea noodles. Now, that has gotten so common that even Aldi carries it. And I made a tuna macaroni salad using chickpea elbow macaroni noodles, and it was delicious and super packed with fiber and protein. Next, Aldi always carries brown rice and quinoa pasta, and they've been doing that for years, and that is really good. I like to make that when I'm on the fast metabolism diet, which I do now and again just to kind of jumpstart my weight loss. So all good ideas. And then Michelle reminded us that the Laughing Cow cheese wedge, if you've seen them, they come in those, circles, and they're great to melt down and use as a sauce over pasta. And I believe one triangle has 1 point, but I think 2 triangles has 3. Don't quote me on that, but I have definitely done that in the past as well. I did that actually when I was on Optavia, because you could have the Laughing Cow cheese when you were on the Optavia plan. So anyway, The upshot of the meeting was exploring carbs and a reminder that there are definitely good, healthy carbs out there, and don't forget about them. And don't do the no carb diet. At least that's Weight Watchers version. Like I said, if you're doing keto and it's working for you, you go right on ahead. But for me personally, I do have to incorporate some carbs, so that I can maintain this way of eating long term. And I always love exploring new recipes. So if you have a favorite recipe where you are using some form of good carbs, why don't you put it in the comments below? Because I love to try new recipes. And it's about time I did a bonus video for you guys and did a what I eat in a day, or just simply maybe showing you some of the recipes that I make. So again, if that's something you're interested in, let me know in the comments section below. I did not tell you the quote of the day. Sorry, I missed that. We always end our Weight Watcher meetings with a quote of the day. And yesterday's was, "Don't wait until you've reached your goal to be proud of yourself. Be proud of every step you take toward reaching that goal." Credited to Unknown. We've talked in the past about negative self-talk, and I think a lot of us do that. I know I've found myself doing that on occasion, and that doesn't do anybody any favors. And even if you're in the middle of your journey, I'm probably like 3/4 of the way on my journey, but I have been proud of every step I've taken. So you need to be proud of yourself too. If you've enjoyed this video and you made it all the way to the end, please give me an emoji of a pink ribbon in support of breast cancer. And if you like this video, please like it below and subscribe to my channel. And tick that notification bell so you are alerted every time I upload a new video. I'm gonna say goodbye for now, and so does Leo. There he is, snoozing. And I will see you next time.